watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Hello and welcome to a special edition of MidSouth Matters on Germantown Municipal Television. Today we're going to visit the new home of the Tennessee Shakespeare Company. We'll talk with founder and artistic director Dan McCleary, with education director and general manager Stephanie Shine, and with executive director Frank Bluestein about what this means for future endeavors. We'll also go on a behind-the-scenes tour of the building and learn more about the plans for the new space. Let's take a look. Welcome, hello, Stephanie.
Thank you.
We are here in this fabulous new building. It kind of looks like we just moved in. Every homeowner who ever moved in knows what this is like. Yes. And Stephanie's going to tell us about the education program that the Tennessee Shakespeare has going on now, and that we saw some of last night, as a matter of fact, and your future plans. So,
well, right this moment, our big effort is the Romeo and Juliet project, which is in residence at 12 different schools. Last night we had a marvelous event at the Palladio Group, which has two beautiful stores. Actually, it's a conglomerate, I think, of 4 stores. We were in Palladio Antiques and Palladio Interiors for an open house. And our Romeo and Juliet education program, all of our company members were there, some in costume that might be expected of an Elizabethan experience, and some in costume from Shakespeare Rattle and Roll, which is another touring show, and some in our t-shirts, which we use when we go into the schools that have text from Romeo and Juliet on it. And we put teams of actors spaced throughout the Palladio Group stores, and they were able to interact with guests who came for this experience. And in that opportunity, they were afforded the ability to pretend they were 9th graders again and part of the Romeo and Juliet experience. So it was marvelous to have several adults come out to me and say, I got to be Romeo, I got to be Benvolio, I got to experience this, which is something we'd like to do more of. But the Romeo and Juliet project will reach about 5,000 students this year, which is quite extraordinary for us. And we are maxed out in how many more students we can serve until we can find a way to expand the number of months the program is offered.
How many months is it
Right now it's offered for 4 months, but we are often in 2 to 3 schools a day. They are working nonstop, my young actors, and what I really need to do is come back and be able to either expand the number of actors I have working for us in that 4-month period, or take the time that the Romeo and Juliet project is offered and extend it through March. Then we could serve the 5 schools that are on our waiting list right now.
I have to compliment your young Romeo and Juliet last night.
Thank you.
I was able to see them a couple of times as I was going through, and they were fabulous.
They're wonderful
Really
young
as good as any I've seen just about
That
ever.
makes me feel so proud of these young people. Several of them are from Memphis, and we are concentrating on developing classically skilled young actors in the hopes that we would have a home, in the hopes that we would be able to have a repertory company of actors who could depend on a living, and our audience could depend on seeing these young actors as they grow throughout their careers. That could be in our future. That could be where we go next, now that we have this beautiful space.
I will tell you, my sister, who was with us in Ashland, said something that I thought maybe you'd like to know, and she has seen Henry IV and Romeo and Juliet any number of times, and she said, I think you've got the best group of actors ever in Memphis. She has been to some of your rehearsals, never a whole show, but she knew what she was talking about. So say to your actors that their fame is
growing.
Growing, yes.
I will.
Yes.
They're really an extraordinary group of young people who are committed to not only growing professionally as actors, but also in serving their communities. They are very committed to the 9th grade population that they are involved with right now, which is, you know, huge numbers of children. And it's really extraordinary to see how committed they are. I'm quite thrilled that we get to bring our Julius Caesar, which is playing in rotating repertory with our Romeo and Juliet, into our detention centers. We'll be having a pre-Thanksgiving dual header at both Jail East and the Hope Academy, which is above the detention center.
Explain those
I
two,
will.
and explain what that, when you say our detention.
We serve incarcerated youth, and are often the only arts program that these young people have while they are serving out sentences or else waiting for further trial action, especially at Jail East, which is the center where children who've been accused of serious crime are waiting for further judicial
You mean like
discovery.
adult crimes?
They're being
Okay.
charged as adults, yet they are anywhere from 14 to 17 years of age, but that's because of the severity of the crime. They're over at Jail East, which is over at Shelby Farms. It is typically where the women are housed, and there are wings where the women are, and there's one block, C block, where there are between 25 and 40 young teenage boys who are serving time and waiting for further action on their crimes. So we serve that population, and we'll be taking Julius Caesar into them on Wednesday, the 22nd of November, which is exciting for us because in the in the spring, we did a 10-week session with them about Julius Caesar. So now they'll get to see the play acted, which is extraordinary.
And
then-
have they done Romeo and Juliet? Have they seen that?
Most of those children have seen Romeo and Juliet at the Hope Academy. Often they're at the Hope Academy before they are sent to Jail East. So we have been to the Hope Academy this season. We've been, for the past 3 seasons, we've been to the Hope Academy with Romeo and Juliet. But we will also be taking Julius Caesar to the Hope Academy students on the 22nd as well. It's a 75-minute show. So we'll serve both populations on the same day.
And many times in the program you talk about making different choices. If Romeo and Tybalt had some other choice other than
Right. What we like to help our young people understand is that they have choices that the characters in Romeo and Juliet did not.
Have.
And they get to, our students within our residency program get to explore and discover what those options to violence might be. And then what is really, I think, an extraordinary opportunity for them is they get to rehearse those options.
Yeah.
Sometimes, if you can experience physically, even in a rehearsal, what it might be to make a different choice, should you then be exposed to a situation where choices come up for you, you will have within your body, I can make this choice. I can choose to disengage from this violence. And that's what we're hoping.
Fabulous. And that's our stopping spot for now. And we'll be back with tours and scenery and blueprints. So all kinds of things coming up. So thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Every year, 40% of all food in the U.S. never gets eaten.
40%. That's almost half the food we produce.
Food waste is a serious problem. It impacts all of us.
And it's expensive. Your family is throwing $1,500 a year in the trash.
We're working hard to put food waste on the chopping block.
And you can do the same at home.
Learn how to cook it, store it, and share it.
Just don't waste it.
Go to savethefood.com.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome, Frank. We're so happy to have you on MidSouth Matters for the very first time. And Frank's here to tell us about Tennessee Shakespeare's impact locally, as far as the state's concerned, how we fit into the big picture. So,
well, I think we fit in a magnificent way. Ruth.
good.
First of all, of course there's no other Shakespeare theater in this area, but beyond that, there's really no Shakespeare theater hardly in the entire southeastern region. I think there are 3 permanent professional Shakespeare companies that have their own home, like we now have. So it is really exciting. Certainly, we're the only one in Tennessee, and I think that what it's going to do for our community is really going to be exceptional and something that we haven't seen before.
How's it going to be exceptional?
Well, I think offering a place like this that has the facility to be able to educate, particularly young people who are really often starving for this kind of thing, but there's never been an outlet for them. I think for the community. We have so many people in our community that are coming in. I'm thinking of Service Master and of course FedEx and St. Jude that come in that are accustomed in other places to having a Shakespeare theater and a classical theater. I mean, something that's doing really wonderful classical work. And I think it's going to be very attractive, and I think it's going to be something when companies go and say, here's what we have to offer in Memphis, this is going to be right there at the top.
Good. Financially, where do we sit nationally or locally?
In what way? I mean,
well, is there an impact? Do we have an impact?
Sure we do. For one thing, I mean, theater appeals to tourists. It appeals to people, especially Shakespeare, where there's not a lot in other places. People, come. I mean, they come in especially. They'll book a hotel room. They'll have a whole weekend in Memphis to see a wonderful play, especially if it's a play they could not see elsewhere. So this facility, first of all, will give us the opportunity to do more plays, and it'll give us the opportunity to bring in more people to see it, because they'll be able to have longer runs and that kind of thing. I don't know that people realize this, but the tourism industry in the state of Tennessee produces something like 19, I believe, maybe 17 or 18 billion dollars worth of revenue, of which the state of Tennessee gets something like 2.8 billion in taxes off of those tourists. So, I mean, it's a huge, huge revenue generator for the state, and I think we'll be part of that.
Good. So we will help Shelby County in general, Memphis, and the suburban areas specifically.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is going to raise revenue. I really think as we develop, because we've not really been able to do this without our own home. We've had to make sure we could have a play here and then one over there, and there's just not been consistency. Now that we can have our own place, hopefully festivals will develop, other annual events that will really begin to attract people, not just from here, but from all over the Mid-South. And I think, like many Shakespeare festivals, they are international events. I mean, people come in because they want to see a particular production. So I think as we develop here and we've now got the home, I think those kinds of things will become possible.
I just got back from Ashland, Oregon, one of the initial fabulous Shakespeare festivals. And they have gardens with just Shakespeare flowers. They have a fabulous gift shop. They have all kinds of festival kinds of activities that this may become.
Well, it absolutely can, and we've got such a wonderful building. I mean, the building, of course, was designed for the ballet, but it will be perfect to retrofit for a theater, and then using the studios for rehearsal space and for event space. I think the building is going to become a really well-used facility for the people in Memphis.
Can it be rented out eventually to other entities?
Absolutely.
Is that what you're talking about?
Absolutely. We are working on the plans, but we're hoping to open up. There are 3 studios, and they're back to back, and they're a long rectangular space. We're hoping to open the walls and divide this into different areas. I mean, you could have a intimate meeting or just a small, reception here for 100 people, or hopefully, our hope is we can open it up so that you'd end up with as much as maybe a 400-person seated dinner.
Yeah, kind of like our gala.
Kind of like the Shakespeare Gala. Yes,
Uh-huh.
that would be helpful.
It would be. And very shortly, we're going to take a walking tour down. Now, this space, it looks like everyone's home when they're first moving in. I mean, everybody would be sympathetic because it looks like a day or a week after you've just moved in.
Well, as a matter of fact, it is.
It
It's a week after we just moved in.
So, but we all have wonderful imaginations, so we're going to be able to see all these things, and you and Stephanie and Dan and I are going to traverse the hall and see that fabulous large studio down there. Dan's going to tell us all about the blueprints, and Stephanie's going to tell us all about the education program here, and so in just after this break, off we go.
Okay, sounds great.
I dare you. I dare you to change the world. Yeah, you. Getting that college education. I dare you to be somebody important. Like be a teacher. Or a reality TV star. I dare you to stand up here. To call the shots. To be a role model.
An inspiration. An innovator.
To be a teacher. Think you can change my life? Make me excited about science like you? Have a career that really means something? Then do it. I dare you. This is the story of a boy who was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help. And slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome, Dan. We're so delighted to have you on MidSouth Matters, and Dan McCleary is here to tell us all about the journey, his peripatetic 10 years getting to this building. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you, Ruth. Thanks for having me. And welcome to Tennessee Shakespeare Company's first permanent home.
Oh, absolutely.
It has been a journey. When we started talking about it 11 years ago, and Frank Bluestein and I started talking about it 11 years ago, we knew that what we wanted the investment to be in was the service side of being a professional Shakespeare performance and education organization. And that meant an investment in the people. And we also liked the idea of environmental theater and found space because it's something that Shakespeare did as well. Well, we still like it, but not with quite the fervor that we did when we were all much younger.
Right.
But it taught us an awful lot about what it takes to create not just theater, but professional theater, both indoors and outdoors. And you know, one of the things about it is it's expensive. It's very exciting, but it's also very expensive. And also, we start to feel a little bit like, not just us, but those of us, you know, those people who support us, our board, over 300 donors, over 10,000 audience members every year. We got, as we did more and more feedback, we started to get the sense, the strong sense, that they wanted to see us grounded someplace. They wanted to have some brick and mortar touchstone to Memphis's own professional theater company. And so we started this search in earnest about 3 years ago. We saw over 55 sites, both facilities and just vacant properties, all over Shelby County.
What were some of the finalists other than this building?
Well, we looked at the Opera Memphis facility. We looked at a fairly romantic, albeit archaic facility on Broad Avenue, which is a place that I grew up in and my father ran for some time. We also looked at a number of outdoor spaces that are close to Shelby Farms, which we are now.
Yeah,
And we also were pretty fond of a warehouse space that was downtown. So as you hear, we were a little less concerned about our specific geography and really more concerned about what might allow us to create a space where we could not only have our administrative offices and store ourselves, but create a costume shop, a scene shop, storage, rehearsal space, education space, after school space, and 1 or 2 performance spaces. It's a lot of square footage, you know, it was 15
and this
to 20,000
place has
square
a
feet.
lot of square footage.
It does. It has over 18,000 square feet.
Oh, yes.
And we also did a survey of our audiences, and we attempted to discover, well, how far is too far for you to come? Because we have people coming to us from as far away as locally as Eads, some from Olive Branch, some from over the river in Arkansas. And what we heard primarily was an East Memphis location, which is central to so many, and that's what we feel like we've achieved by being in this facility.
Very good. So walk us through some of the other places you have used as a stage, because some of them have been fabulous.
And dangerous. We had one of our, well, we've used St. George's Episcopal Church
yes.
from the outset. And St. George's and the vestry there, they were so generous, really. There would be no Tennessee Shakespeare Company without the generosity of Father Gary Sterney and that extraordinary group of people.
Right.
And it also helped lend a very natural, if I can say it like this, a very natural spirituality to the work we were doing in Shakespeare's scripts, which is called for in most of his plays. We did As You Like It there and Othello there, which demand a spirituality to it. And of course, Barbara Apperson's backyard was an original space for us, which was the Forest of Arden. You can't pay for a set like that. It would cost us millions of dollars.
Right, yeah. Of course, Barbara's worth $1 million to Shakespeare all the time.
She is indeed. She's just lovely. And we also have performed with our friends at Dixon Gallery and Gardens, and Kevin Sharp there, who's the executive director, have been terribly generous with us. One of the first things we did there was a Romeo and Juliet that also moved, like our As You Like It did. We started Romeo and Juliet on the roof of the Dixon, and it was right below Kevin's window. Kevin promised that he would occasionally get himself into the show, and he did. He stuck his head out occasionally as if he was looking into Juliet's bedroom. And we had Romeo scale the building. All that was very safe until one night. And then once she was faux dead, there was a procession down the glade.
The whole audience went in procession.
We bore the bier down the glade and into the Venus statue area under the trees. Well, one night, the tree that Kevin calls the Shakespeare tree, is an over 400-year-old tree, it collapsed. Its roots gave way.
We'd had massive rain that spring, as I recall. Yes.
Right. And it fell right over the stage. It crushed our lights. It crushed the would-be stage. We heard it about 5 minutes before we were to go down there. And so we had to change our plans. We went around unscrewing all the lights in the Dixon's grounds, and we led the actors had no idea what we were doing. They just heard the crash. So we led the actors unwittingly in an opposite direction. The audience went with us. We still had the scenes play out leading into the Dixon, the Weingartner Auditorium, and then they made it up inside the auditorium. And we performed, of course, also outdoors at Shelby Farms Park in a wooden amphitheater. We did Macbeth and The Tempest out there at the Poplar Pike Playhouse, which is where I was introduced to theater as well. Also at Hutchinson School, we did To Kill a Mockingbird at Hutchinson School. So in some cases, there have been real theaters, like at the University of Memphis, who we partner with. It enables us to really express ourselves theatrically.
And you'll be there again in June?
No, we won't be there in June because now we're here. But it forces us, and we're glad that it does, it forces us to look at other ways that Tennessee Shakespeare Company and the University of Memphis can collaborate. And again, the focus goes to the students. So we're allowing, and we want the university to be rehearsing some things here, we'll do some things there, but also look for ways to get some of the very talented, promising students who are in their theater program more embedded into our education programs here.
Good. We're going to stop right there and pick up again as we take our peripatetic trip down the hall with our camera so everybody can see this fabulous building.
Great.
And then we're going to see some blueprints.
You got it.
Okay, Dan, here we go on our walking tour, and I'm looking right now at a fabulous prop. Say what it is. It's out here in the lobby.
It's Alas Poor Yorick.
It is.
He was a good man.
It's his skull.
But it's not the real skull we used. The real skull we used weighed about 35 pounds.
Oh,
so close
okay.
to the weight of a human head for Hamlet. But it wasn't a human head.
Okay.
But right now, one of the first things we did was we painted these doors red. The doors hadn't been painted in 19 years. This is the entryway into the space, and what I'm looking out on right now is Trinity Road and Walmart and Target, where we sort of spend half our lives. And we want to, ultimately, as we're dealing in the planning right now, we want to encase more of the lobby area out here and get rid of what this structure right here and turn all of this into a small restaurant / bar / merchandise concession area. So we want to turn it into a festive party place.
Yes.
Whether you're coming to see Shakespeare or hear music or see your child do Shakespeare, or you're just coming by after work to have
a libation.
A little slushy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
We've already got our Adirondack chairs
out there.
to mark the territory.
And so coming into the lobby area, one of the things we love about the space, which again was built about 19 years ago, is all the windows it has in it, all the exposed industrialness that's in it. And we want to keep all the space in the lobby, but there are 3 dance studios. And so this, of the 3 spaces, this is the smallest right here. We want to make sure that at least one of the spaces is always concertedly for our education programs.
And this is the studio where our interview portion occurred. Yes.
Where with the rapiers and the daggers and all these lovely windows in it. But for all of these studios, as we walk through, again, you hear the voice bouncing a good bit. And we're working with Archimania right now, our architecture firm, and Schuler Shook, which is a theater consultant out of Texas, and an acoustician out of Connecticut, who said, my work is cut out for me in here, when he walked into the spaces. But it's important because when we work with Shakespeare's text, we don't want the space working against, working with these very long thoughts and big words.
Okay, and this is the second studio, bigger, much bigger.
This is a mid-size space, and one of the things we're imagining is taking out the wall between the mid-size and the smaller space and creating a temporary wall so that we can roll the wall up or away or close it and create a giant rehearsal space, a giant education space, and very importantly, create a giant rental space. So for a marriage, wedding that might have 400 guests, a bar mitzvah, another performance, a gala by another arts organization, these 2 spaces plus this hallway plus a catering kitchen we would put in would be able to accommodate that. We're imagining a facade right here, creating a wall right here. We name the theater, and then we blow through this glass wall. We remove this glass wall, and then what we're standing in then is the true backstage of a 220-seat flexible configuration space theater. So that on this side of the hallway, staff goes up and down, goes down to the costume shop, and gets to the dressing rooms. But here, the audience comes through this door. This is our backstage. And then if I'm standing...
Is this big enough to be a backstage?
Yes. Well, you've seen where some of our backstages are. There weren't any. So this I could be standing backstage, and as we look through the window here, we actually have chairs set up, set up. We're getting ready for Waiting for Godot right now. We're painting sets. But this is about 220 seats in here in a deep thrust configuration. So if I'm here, I'm actually on stage. And I can walk to it through the aisles where you see the aisles and the chairs right there. And then this configuration could also change to a promenade or an alley configuration where there are no seats on that wall, but seats only on the sides. Also a proscenium stage where there's a fake wall there and fake wall down here. But between those configurations, which would be exciting for the audience, we would seat somewhere between 180 and 220 people.
Yeah.
And of course, as you mentioned earlier, our challenges in here include the height of the ceiling. Again, it was built for dance.
Let's go in there.
Sure. And you see the windows up here, and then they're also over here on the other side of the hallway. These are all quite nice. They're lovely. We love natural light, but it's death when you're trying to achieve 100% darkness for. This is 30 feet by 30 feet right here. The
plastic is.
No, the space from the wall to the chairs and chair to chair. This is 30 by 30. This is a little larger than what Shakespeare had to work with. So here where it says women's dressing room, there are still locker rooms here from the dance company, but we're going to merge all of those into proper dressing rooms for equity actors, and a green room. Here's what we're using as a green room right now. In fact, our first office was about this same square footage for all of us. This is, for Ballet Memphis, this was their costume shop. It will be ours as well, but I'll tell you, Ruth, we were in 9 different leased and rental spaces all over town. As we continue to expand. And one of the things that we had been looking for, as we talked about, was getting all of our operations under one roof. We moved really rapidly once we had a very generous matching gift. We closed on the property August 31. That gave us 28 days to close all of our operations, all of our rental spaces, and get moved in here. These are road cases for Romeo and Juliet, the Romeo and Juliet project. This is all working right now. We've got 4 shows in production right now. Our own washer and dryer.
Strange what little things mean so much.
We no longer have to find a creek and a washboard to do our stuff in. Now in here, this will be our storage room, and you can see our costumes. We've got about 10 or 11 racks of costumes right now. We're ultimately going to get all of these in the air and in their own racks over here, and then all of these crates, all of these cartons are going into shelving units that we're creating out of steel. Will all live over here. This will be all of our lighting equipment and scenic equipment.
Looks like shelves are going in up here.
Well, those are from Ballet Memphis. We may or may not use them again. And then here's the last room. It's a real scene shop. It's where we can build things.
You got a rolling door here.
A roll-up door that allows us to load in. Here's our lighting equipment here. Dimmer rack, you see pieces of steel that we use because we've been creating our own theaters and our own booms for lights now for 9 years. That's some of the handrails from To Kill a Mockingbird over there. Othello cubes up there, Henry V ladders right there. In fact, those platforms right there were built custom made for fitting into the St. George's Church stage. I don't know if stage is the right word, but that's what we use them for. But we're going to clear all this out, move it into the storage space we just left, and we're starting to bring in scene building equipment here and have our own scene shop.
Fabulous.
Which we've never had before.